Hey, I'm just going to be showing through some new features of the scope I've been working on today. So I'll show through the blueprint, but first I'm going to start with the actual material. So I've upgraded this from the old version, so now it's all in one material here. So it's no longer using multiple layers, so we have really nice shader complexity because of that. Let's show you that. So we're in the red, but we're not in the pink. So it's bad because of the multiple layers, but it's not as bad as we had it before where it was in the white. So that's much better. Still work on that a bit. But you'll see the scope here, and you'll see it has a more realistic effect to it. So as I move across, you'll see the edges fold in. As well, zooming out, we'll fade it to black. And zooming in, we'll move these edges in and out. You can see. All right, so I'll show you through the material here, and for that we're going to go over to this. So as you can see, it's all on one material, just like so. I'll show you the features of it a little bit better here. So you can see the black edges moving side to side with our head. As well, you can see it expanding and shrinking as we move closer and further away. And you'll also see the nice lens cap here, refracting the light. Okay, so now we'll go through the material instance. So we'll start with the fade distance, I guess. So we can go, right now it's at 500. So as we go further and further away, you'll see it will fade to black. We can reduce this value or increase it. So as we get closer, it fades in and out. Okay. Now we can do the inside ring next. So we'll go the ring radius. We can change that down to something like, right now it's 5, we'll change it down to 2. You can see we have a much smaller radius to work with here. And we can also change the hardness of that. So you can see we have full hard edges or completely soft edges. There we go. And I like that as default there. We can also change the viewport size, so the scaling of this, if your scope's different, a bit bigger, a bit smaller, or you want to scale it up. So you see we can scale the size of it up or down. Works just fine. We can also change the mask of it here, of the reticle. So I'll change that out. You can see we have different ones here. Ooh, a nice ugly one. And you'll see it will mask out those edges. So if we're fully up, it will show the edges. If we're not, it will hide them away, which is what we want. There we go. We can also go down, and here's a nice feature, is the scratch masks, which I'll enable. We're going to use scratches, and you'll see these scratches pop up. And we can invert the scratches, so we get, it's basically a white and black mask. And we can invert it so they get heavier, or we can just use it regularly, like so. All right, so now moving on to the actual blueprint of it, we'll go back to our scope here. Here's where the fun new features come into play. So you can see we can toggle the glow. Hang on, let me get a nice spot here. There we go. We can toggle the glow on and off for the reticle, as well as the glow intensity. We'll set that up and down. We can also change the color. We'll set that to 0 and set in, let's say, red. Make it pink. We can also change the reticle here, as I showed before, and this is through the blueprint. We can use, these are new effects here I've added to the scope. We can use thermal. So we'll click that, and you'll see in the background here, everything all around us is all regular. And everything back here is being rendered in thermal. So essentially I've set up these meshes just to use these different heat values. So this far back one here, you can see that's actually just cold, and then these would be hot. So you can do that with your characters as well as add Fresnel effects to it so that they get colder around the edges or hotter around the edges of your view. So we'll show you the next one here, which is the night vision, which we'll have to change our scope color here for, because it could be a little bit bright. There we go. So as you can see here, we have these nice scan lines, as well as night vision sight in the background. So sorry, my intensity is a bit too high here. There we go, that's much better. Okay, so you can see we have the glow in the background of the green, and that's based off of the depth as well, so the heat. So basically anything that would be cold would be bright green, and anything that would be hot on the thermal vision would be black or darker green, which you can see here. So that way you have the background pop out in front of the character, which would just be done with everything else rendering green like so. Okay, so now we'll move on to the new setup I have with the variable zoom, which I did in a much more efficient way. So now we can set our variable zoom to zoom in, zoom out, as well as set new zoom values for it. So we can set this to 1.5 and zoom in, we'll get way more zoom, 3, 5, etc. So that way we can kind of fine tune it to how we want, as well as better on performance now. Okay, and I'm also going to show the new hollow sight I've done. So we'll just skip on over here. And you can see this is the hollow sight, and it will follow your eye. So as we're sitting here, you'll see it will hug the inside as a real reflex sight would, or a hollow sight. And essentially, I've done the math calculations on it, and it always aims straight forward. So it's almost as if there was a trace point from here to here. And so it's always facing that direction no matter where we go. And so that way it would always be aiming true to where your bullets are going. So as you can see here, it follows our view, and there's nothing actually here. It's all just done through the material, like so. Okay, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next video.